And for homework tonight, you're going to learn about Didls, and this is going to guide our passage analysis over the next few weeks. Didls is an acronym to remember those elements of tone that should be considered when evaluating prose or poetry. And an acronym is the first letter of every word. So Didls breaks down to 5 key components. But first we have to ask ourselves, what is tone? Tone is the writer or speaker's attitude in regard to the subject and the audience. We're going to look at a variety of tones over the year, but for example, the tone can be humorous or the tone could be suspenseful. If we break down Didls, that acronym, we've got diction, images or imagery, details, language, and syntax, and we will go through what each of these are. First up, we have diction. And diction are the words an author uses to convey ideas to a reader. We have to ask ourselves, why are the words chosen by the author? Next up, we have imagery. And imagery is the author's use of language that appeals to the 5 senses in order to help the reader paint a picture in their minds. What is the author trying to evoke in the mind's eye? If we take a look at these 5 senses, the 5 senses are sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. Next up, we have details. And details are the facts that are included or omitted by the narrator or the author. Questions we ask ourselves in this case: what do the details indicate about the author's tone? What details does the author choose to include? What do the details actually imply? And what does the author choose to exclude? So think about it like this. How might an adolescent decide to include or omit details when reporting a minor car accident to his or her parents, a police officer, or his or her friends at school? There's going to be different details included in each of these situations. Next up, we have language. In language, we look at the overall use of language. So what is the overall impression of the language the author uses? Some words to describe language, and you do not need to memorize all of these, but good ones to know: colloquial, formal, and informal are great to know. Next up, we have syntax. And this is the way words are arranged in a sentence and how structure affects the reader's attitude. So we have to ask ourselves, how do the sentences affect the mood and the tone? And what is the author trying to get us to do? So does the author want us to slow down, speed up, or create suspense? Yoda said, "Named must your fear be, before banish it you can." Now this syntax has been adjusted, shall we say, and I want you to think about this for a few seconds. You can pause the video if you'd like. A question to ask yourself: based on the Didls formula, how does a selected passage effectively create additional meaning? So yes, there's diction, there's imagery, there's details, language, and syntax, but so what? How does this contribute to the tone and the meaning? And that's what you need to do in passage analysis. So here's an example. I want you to pause the video and read through this example. Welcome back from pausing. Here's the example again. I'm going to break it down for you. So first, the author used sentence fragments to emphasize meaning and emotion. Can you identify some of the sentence fragments? You can pause the video if you need to. Next up, the author used sensory details, so those senses, the sensory appeals. And he used those sensory details to help us paint an image of the scene in our minds. I want you to pause the video right now and see these sensory details. Identify some of the 5 senses. And finally, he explained the situation well enough so we could all think of a similar situation we'd experienced. Think about this as well, and that is the end of your homework for this evening. You might want to make some notes on this particular presentation and come to class armed with lots and lots of questions. Thanks, everyone.